Welcome to BooTube. Here the shadows come alive. Are you ready for the fright? It began in the quiet moments when Clara tried to recall the day. She'd sit on her worn sofa, surrounded by the hum of her small apartment, replaying the last 12 hours in her mind. At first, it seemed normal. Coffee in the morning, the subway ride, her desk at work. But when she focused, truly focused, she realized something was missing. It wasn't the kind of forgetting that comes from distraction. No, this was different. She remembered unlocking her office door but not the steps down the hall. She recalled her lunch tray but not sitting to eat. Each time she tried to pin down a detail, it slipped away as though her memories were drawn on smoke. This became her nightly ritual, sitting, replaying, and finding pieces that refused to fit. One evening, she noticed something stranger, her reflection in the mirror, a small, oval antique she'd picked up at a thrift store, lingered too long after she turned her head. It was subtle, barely more than a flicker, but enough to make her blood run cold. She dismissed it, laughed nervously, told herself she was tired. But the next night, the reflection moved. Before she did, Clara stopped looking at the mirror, but the dread followed her. At work, she caught glimpses of her face in the reflection of her computer screen, frozen in expressions she didn't recognize. Walking home, she felt the weight of someone's gaze, but turned to see only shadows. Her co-workers began to act oddly too. Conversations faltered mid-sentence, as though they were waiting for her to speak. But she hadn't been asked a question. Others smiled too widely or didn't blink enough. And the clock above her desk, it skipped ahead, hours disappearing between one glance and the next. When she asked a colleague about the strange behavior, their answer chilled her. What do you mean? You've been here the whole time. Weeks passed and Clara's world unraveled. Time became elastic, stretching and snapping back without warning. The people around her behaved like puppets on invisible strings, repeating phrases, walking the same paths. It felt as though reality were a poorly rehearsed play. Then came the night. The mirror spoke. She had avoided looking at it, covering it with a sheet, but its surface glowed faintly. In its depths, her reflection wasn't hers, it was someone else, something else. It smiled as though it knew her better than she knew herself. "You're not meant to notice," it said, the voice familiar and wrong, like her own, heard underwater. "But now you have." "What do you mean?" she whispered. The reflection tilted its head. "You've been here before, and you'll be here again. The world isn't as solid as you think, Clara. It's just a set of rules, and you've started breaking them." "Who are you?" she demanded. "I'm the part of you that sees, the part that remembers what this place really is. You thought you were living a life, making choices. But you're only walking paths laid out for you, and now you've stepped off." The reflection vanished, leaving Clara alone with the suffocating realization. She wasn't trapped in her apartment or her city. She was trapped in something far bigger, far more incomprehensible, a simulation, a loop, a maze with no exit. The next morning, the world carried on as though nothing had changed. But Clara knew better. The clock's hands ticked in circles. Her co-workers repeated the same hollow jokes, and her reflection never stopped watching her, even when she turned away. Clara still lives in that world, searching for a way out, knowing that every step forward only brings her closer to the walls of the cage.